Hey viewers, today we're going to be doing the PTCG rundown on the Spot Panda Pokemon, Spinda. The first Spinda we ever got was in EX Hidden Legends. It had an HP of 60, it was a colorless Pokemon, it had a weakness to fighting and a retreat cost of 1. Onto the attacks though, it had for one colorless entity the Hulala. Flip a coin. If heads, the defending Pokemon is now confused. If tails, both of the Pokemon are confused, both Spinda and the Pokemon you're attacking. And this isn't a very good attack because first you have to flip heads or else you're as well as confused. Even if you flip heads, it might still be hard for the confusion to do anything because if your opponent flips heads when they go to attack on their next turn, the confusion didn't do anything. And you kind of wasted a turn and you're just leaving the 60 HP Pokemon in the active. But for the second attack, for one colorless energy as well, it's its flail. This attack does 10 damage equal to the number of damage counters on Spinda. And the maximum you could do with this is 50 damage for one energy, which I'll admit at the time wasn't abysmal like it might be nowadays, especially if you're especially if you're 10 damage away from being KO'd. But I still don't think it was very worth it. Again, no matter when you are, what format, you're 10 damage away from being KO'd. Almost any Pokemon can get a KO on you at that point. So you may be able to do some decent attack. But first you gotta ditch the damage counters all in there, and then you get to do the attack. So it wasn't a very good attack at all. The next Bender we got though came out in EX Legend Maker, which I actually like quite a bit. It had 6 HP. It was still a colorless Pokemon, still a basic, still had a weakness to fighting and a retreat cost of 1, but now it had a Pokebody. And this said, and it was pattern distraction. It said, as long as Spinda is your active Pokemon, whenever your opponent's Pokemon tries to attack, your opponent flips a coin. If it tails, that attack does nothing, and you can't use more than one pattern distraction Pokebody each turn. So, but this basically meant is if your opponent tried to attack you with a basic Pokemon, then they would have to flip a coin. If tails, then the attack fails. And this is pretty decent because there were star Pokemon. Star Pokemon were all basic Pokemon that were supposedly very powerful, in that you could only have one star Pokemon in your deck. And because they were all basic, no matter what star Pokemon your opponent may have, they had to flip a coin, and if tails, their attacks did nothing. That's why I like this Spinda's Pokebody when it came out during the time, because star Pokemon were indeed a thing. Its attacks, though, one colorless energy, whimsy draw, flip a coin until you get tails. For each heads, draw 2 cards. In my opinion, that's really good because you could potentially draw infinite. Now, you're never going to do that, obviously, but you could flip 5 heads in a row and then tails and draw 10 cards off this one colorless energy attack. Even if you flip 2 heads only, or even 1 head, you're drawing 2 cards for one colorless energy. And by nowadays standards, even that's not even too bad. You flip 3 heads, you're drawing 6 cards for 1 energy. Now, of course, you can flip 1 tails on your very first flip and draw no cards, and that's the only downside to this attack. But more often than not, you're going to be drawing 2 to 4 to 6 cards more often than you're just going to be just drawing 0 cards. Its next attack for 2 colorless energies, double edge, 30 damage, flip a coin. If tails, spin it does 20 damage, 10 damage to itself. I don't like this attack nearly as much. Next Spinda we got was all the way in the Diamond and Pearl block in Diamond and Pearl Secret Wonders. It had 70 HP, which is higher than all the other Spindas we saw. It had weakness to fighting, and it had a retreat cost of 1. Now its attacks, though, it said 1 color synergy, dish out, draw a card from the top and bottom of your deck. So this is 1 color synergy, essentially draw 2 cards. Now, it doesn't say draw 2 cards, but it's draw 2 cards. You're drawing 2 cards. One from the top, one from the bottom. And it's good. I don't think it's terrible. It's not amazing. It was just mediocre. It's like decent. Draw 2 cards. Sounds pretty good to me. Now, 1 color synergy synchro punch. 10 damage. If there's if any basic energy attached to Spinda is the same type as any energy attached to the defending Pokemon, this attack does 10 plus 30 more damage. So essentially, if you're using the same energy color as your opponent, you do 40 damage instead of 10. Now this is pretty good, but only if you can get it to work. If you can't, then I'm not really liking it too much. After that, in Platinum Supreme Victors, we got another Spinda with 70 HP, weakness fighting, same thing as before, the basics, but its attacks were different, obviously. For one colorless energy, it had synchro removal. If any energy attached to Spinda is the same as any energy attached to the defending Pokemon, remove one of those energies, discard them, and this is pretty good, but I mean, you're leaving a lot up to your opponent. If your opponent has no energy attached, you're not doing anything. Then again, if they have no energy attached, then you wouldn't want to discard anything anyway. But you really do hope that you have the same type of energy attached as your opponent does, and you might not always be able to make that happen. Even if playing every energy color in your deck, you still probably won't be able to most of the time get the energy on that you need to discard the energy, and sometimes it just won't work out. Second attack though, Pulled Punch, 30 damage. If the defending Pokemon is already damaged, it does 10 instead of 30. This is just straight up bad. I mean, it's not very good at all. If they're already damaged, you can't use this as an attack, because after that it's just doing no. After that, we got a Spinda in black and white, boundaries crossed, and I don't have much to say about this one because it isn't at all particularly good. It has basically 670 HP, like the last two I think we looked at, and it has the same colorless weakness retreat cost, but for two colorless energy, it does 30 damage, and if you flip tails, it does nothing. This is probably the worst one we looked at so far. We got a Spinda in X and Y Primal Clash, but it has higher HP, to be unnoted, than the rest of the Spindas we looked at. But it's still not good enough. It doesn't have any good attacks. Staggering Step, Flip a Coin. If heads, your opponent active Pokemon is now confused. If tails, this Pokemon is now confused. This is way worse than the other one we looked at, because if you use this attack and flip tails, not only are you confused, but your opponent isn't confused. The second attack, to be fair, isn't as bad. One colorless energy, it does 10 to each of your opponent's Pokemon, so that's the active and all the bench, which, to be honest, is obviously the better attack. Last spinner we got was in Sun and Moon. I'm going to have to put the translation for the attack up here on the screen for you guys, because I could not find a decent enough picture in English. Sorry. So, for one color's energy, Teeter Punch. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused. It also does 30 damage. That's probably the more important thing. So, Teeter Punch is actually pretty nice. It's not amazing. It's not great. It's not deck building. It's probably not even a tech, to be honest. Could be if you're trying to do a special conditions deck. But, what it does, it does damage, and then it confuses. All the other ones, you have to do these weird flips, or if this or that. There is no plain up 30 damage confusion, and that's the best part about this card, in my opinion. Also, it has 80 HP, which is on the higher end of those other Spindas that we've seen. In terms of the best Spinda, in my opinion, it is, here we go, the Spinda from EX Legend Makers. Between its stellar stalling ability and its amazing setup, draw, attack, I think this Pokemon could have been great for setting up, and it didn't really dish out damage, but that's not what I think anybody even saw this as a Pokemon to use for in that regard. You just use this Pokemon to draw cards and hopefully block some damage from basic Pokemon that haven't had the chance to evolve yet, or any deck that's just focusing on any basic Pokemon as their main attackers too. That wraps up this video, but if you did like this video, comment what you want to see next on the PTCG rundown, and subscribe so you don't miss a single episode every Wednesday or Thursday, depending on when I get it out. Sorry if the timeline's a bit shaky, but hopefully I'll see you guys there. Later.